Hi, I'm Josh with Woodland Mills, and this video is about our HM130 portable sawmill. I want to start by showing you the crate the sawmill comes in. That's the larger crate here on the bottom. The crate is 84 inches long, 36 inches high, and about 26 inches deep. It has a total shipping weight of about 900 pounds, with the product weight of the sawmill itself at 850. On top of the crate, we have the common accessories that ship out with the sawmill if you order them. I'll start with a blade pack. So this is what a 10 pack of blades is going to look like when it's shipped out with your sawmill. We have a track extension and box here, and this is about an 8x8 box at, again, 84 inches in length. The track extensions weigh 140 pounds, and they add a 6-foot cut length to your sawmill. So instead of the 10-foot lumber length, you can add 6-foot extensions. And if you order them with the original purchase, we'll just stack these extension boxes right on top of the crate, and they'll go out with the sawmill at the standard freight charge. Here we have the spare parts kit, and this is going to give us the guide block bearings, the adjustable guide blocks. It's going to give us the drive belt, the follower belt, as well as the bearings for the band wheels. So these are all maintenance items that will need to be changed over time, and this gives you the parts you need to keep the mill running when you want to use it. Because of its product weight, and you can see as we get the accessories on it that climbs, we need to ship this out on a transport truck or a straight truck, and where available, we offer a lift service or a tailgate lift service down to the ground. So comes by straight truck or transport truck, lifted to the ground where available for our standard freight charge. From here, I'd like to tell you where we store the mills and how long it's going to take to get one if you were to order. So our North American customers can see them come out of our Canadian warehouse for Canadian customers, Whitby, Ontario. So the US customers will see it come out of our Buffalo, New York warehouse. Our European customers, Gothenburg, Sweden. And we also have international warehouses where we store them to service other countries with a shorter shipping time than if we had to send them out of North America. So please check the website, have a look at where those warehouses are, and contact us, and we can get a freight quote to get it to you from there. I want to show you the assembled product, but first I'll start with how long it takes to get it assembled. Most clients, from getting the crate on the pallet at their house, can have the sawmill up and running within a day. So one person could assemble the sawmill, but we do recommend 2 people because of the weight of some of the parts. And it's a one-day process, and a lot of that day is going to be spent, building the sawhead, getting the track assembled, and then putting the two together. So here I have an assembled mill, and you see what we've done to get it level. We've had to dig in a few 6x6 blocks. We've got leveling feet. There's 12 leveling feet on a standard track. And the leveling feet give us about 3 inches of adjustment. So as long as we can get our blocks within 3 inches from one end to the other, we can use the leveling feet to get the track system level front to back and left to right. So with a sawmill, it's very important to have the track completely level in both directions, so length and width. And you just use a level, the longer the better, to go between all the spaces, and then you adjust the leveling legs as you go and get your track system level. While I'm here at the track, I'll talk a bit about it, the dimensions of it. You can see we've got galvanized rails. We've got a 4-inch by 2.5-inch height. These are a machine top rail. So this top surface has been machined square and true. We've got our bunks which hold the log, and you'll see we have stainless steel caps on the bunks here. That is to reduce friction when you're turning the larger logs, and to give you a surface that won't stain any of the more precious woods we have that don't like to make contact with metal. The bunk top is 3 inches wide, so that gives us a nice wide bearing surface, so we aren't putting a lot of pressure on one spot of the wood. And when the cants are laying flat, that's not a problem. But when you go to turn them, if you've got a narrow bunk here, it can put a lot of pressure on the corner of that cant. So we have nice wide bunk tops. The height of our bunks are 6 inches. And what that allows us to do is provide a space between the top of the rail and the top of the bunk. And that's for loading logs with equipment or with ramps. It gives you space in here to come in with your forks, lower them down, and back out, leaving the log on the bunk. And you'll see that when I load a log onto this mill. In front of me here, we have the log supports. We ship both long and short supports. And the reason for this is depending on how high you have the mill off the ground and whether or not you can provide a hole underneath where these go, you may not be able to pass this all the way down to the minimum cut height. So if this is going to protrude any more than your minimum cut, you're going to want to switch it out for the short ones so that you can set it and not have to worry about the blade on the last cut. You'll see how I use those and how I adjust them to give myself the maximum support on the back of the log when I'm clamping, but to not be in the way as I'm cutting efficiently. So you don't want to have to move them down every board you take, but you do want enough support in the log so that you aren't just holding it at the bottom. So I'll show you that as we go through in the cut. On the feet here, I'll mention that they have nice big pads on the bottom, and they also have provision for you to attach them and screw them down. So if you were going to go onto a concrete pad, you could attach them down. If you're on wood like we are today, you can screw them down. And then we've had to dig a few of these blocks into the ground as well to get us within that 3-inch adjustment range the feet provide. So we'll go to the saw head. Actually, on the way, I'll show you the log clamp quickly, but it'll show better once we actually have a log in here to clamp. This slides along a bar that allows for locking. It's a quick lock, so you snap this down, pushes, makes pressure on the log and holds it against the log supports. Quick release, quick engage. So I'll show you that again when we get a log on there. But let's get the blade guards open and I'll show you the inner workings here. How we drive the band wheels. We've got 3 latches as well as a center lock. So on the drive side, we use a BX series belt. We've got 19-inch cast iron band wheels with bearings pushed from the back. So it's got a double stack of SKF bearings. They're pushed in from the rear and held in with clip. They're same size both sides. And cast iron band wheels give us that momentum we need to carry through our cuts when you have a knot in the wood or anything that's a little harder to cut. The momentum of these band wheels and having heavy band wheels is going to help us through that. This is an idler to get the belt up and out of the way so we can give you a nice square throat for your cut. Up here we have the centrifugal clutch, and this gives us the ability to have a gas and go. So as the engine revs up, the clutch engages, starts the belt, starts the wheels, and then we're ready to make our cut. On the follower side, or the tire side, we use a polyurethane belt. And the reason for this is it's got superior compression, so over time it doesn't fatigue like a rubber belt would in this position. And we don't need to drive with it, so it's never in tension. So this belt is best in compression, which is what the tire side does, and it gives us a long service life. Now I'll get these guards shut, and we can talk about the throat opening and the cutting capacity of the mill. So we have an adjustable blade guide, and it gives us a maximum cut width of 22 inches at a height of 7 inches. And when it's all the way over, it gives us a 13.5-inch cut width. Now with this model, we've decided to go with the adjustable blade guide because we found with this horsepower range and the cut pace that you can do with this and the pressure you can put on the blade while doing that, we are more likely to get blade deflection. So by moving this over and giving our 2 points of contact to support the blade with the bearings at 13.5 inches, we eliminated that blade deflection, and it helps us make more accurate cuts on narrower boards. Now our minimum blade height off the bunk, so your minimum cut, is set at 1 inch with this model, and the maximum cut is just under 27 inches. So what that allows you to do with a 30-inch log is take a 3-inch slab or scab off the top and get your first cut started. And it also allows you, if you're doing 1-inch planks, to have your last board finish at a full 1 inch. I want to go around to the side of the mill and we'll show you the blade tensioning. So this T-handle here is what we use to set our blade tension. We've got a nut on it which allows us to use a torque wrench, and that lets us consistently set the blade tension where it's supposed to be with repeatability. Torque wrench. The spec for the torque is in the manual of your mill, and that lets us set it, again, repeatable and accurately. The adjustment in the adjustable blade guide is done down here. So we have a lock and then a handle to adjust, and then you tighten it in to keep it in place. We've got a tracking block here, and tracking has to do with keeping the blade on the band wheels in the right spot and keeping the pressure off the band wheel bearings. All that's covered in the manual, but this is where it's done on the right-hand side of the mill. You'll see here is our scale, our log scale. This is a magnetic log scale. 2 different log scales ship with the mill. We've got a straight ruler, or 1 inch. We've got a 4/4 scale. And because they're magnetic, we provide a second one that you can just store on the mill. And this gives you full 1-inch boards and full 2-inch boards. So again, this one would just peel off, you pull it out, you insert the new one. You can make up your own custom ones on magnet stock and put them in here for custom milling of your own choice. We're going to show you the throttle handle. So this is the throttle to power up the engine. And you'll see we just take it all the way. We never run the engine in partial throttle. It's either on or it's off. There's 2 positions for this. So this is for ground mounting, and you'll see it's at a nice height for the user. If this sawmill was to be raised up on a trailer or higher off the ground to accommodate log loading, then this handle has provision to be here as well. So if you're going to raise the mill 12 or 14 more inches, then you've got a good throttle position in the raised position of the mill as well. This is our handle to raise and lower the head of the sawmill. It's about a 1/4 inch per turn, and then to lock it, we use the indexing plunger. And you'll see as we go through here, our scale's moving, and then once we get a flat surface on the log, we may want to zero that out so we can make our first cut off of that reference number. So this slide here allows us to do that. And we can basically zero this to a number, and then we can work backwards from that number for the first cut. Raising and lowering the head is done with the lead screw assembly. So every single turn is a consistent amount of movement of the head. So it's repeatable. It allows you to do, if you're going to do 4 turns to get a board, you can just do the exact same 4 turns, lock it in the exact same spot, and all the boards will come out at the exact same height. We use a stainless steel cable system to do all the raising and lowering. So the cable's threaded through. All the pulleys have bearings inside of them, sealed bearings. And in the back, you'll see it basically advances that lead screw to stretch or pull the cables for the head up and down, and then retracts to allow it to go down. Again, it's low effort because of the lead screw, and it's low maintenance, and it's all hidden in behind the rear guard here. This main valve is used to turn on the blade lubricant. So when you're making cuts, if it's sappy wood, if it's dry wood, old wood, there's all different reasons why you'd use lubricant on your cuts. This is going to be your main on valve and off valve. So when I go to make a cut, I'm going to be turning this on, throttle on, blade's going to start, we'll make that cut. It's a quick off at the end of the cut, and I pull the saw head back. I want to talk a bit about the whole frame or the chassis. So we have a 4-post design on this for the saw head. This is all 2x3 square tubing, galvanized. Our cross beam up here again is 2x4 in the cross beam, and it's passed through these laser plates. So all this is 3/8 thick laser plate with the 2x4 passed through it and welded on all sides. You'll see our integrated lifting hooks. And this gives you a nice balance point to lift the mill if you had the means to do so, equipment or other. And that can help you with assembly. It can also help you if you wanted to put the mill away for storage. But this gives you somewhere where you know you can lift it and not do any damage to the mill. This back blade here is bent and then torqued to give rigidity to the sawmill. And this is all part of the structure with this 4-post design. So basically, we've got the front posts. Any force we apply to the back is carried through to the front, through the saw head, to give us a nice steady force and something to really count on when we're trying to make those larger cuts. As we come down here to the bottom, we use it like a sandwich plate design. And this gives us accuracy because this is all laser cut plate. It also gives us rigidity because we build a box. And it allows us to mount our carriage wheels, our sweepers, and it allows us to position all the parts where they need to be before we torque them down. I mentioned the carriage wheels. So the carriage wheels have a dual race bearing pressed into the wheel, and this allows a very accurate bearing to be used. And it also, we use a radius design in the wheel, but a square top in the rail. And what that does is it basically locks the two together, and then they hone in to make a match pair over time. The track sweepers are stainless steel wire, and they keep that groove in the wheel clean. And they also give us a long service life because we can just push them further and back as we go, as they wear. If we come around to this side of the mill, I can show you the detail in the nylon slide. So we use a nylon bushing in here, and that slides up and down on the 2x3 post. And that lets us cut a nice tight tolerance. It gives us a low friction material, and it also gives us the wear item. So again, tolerance, low friction, and an easy to replace wear item. Our tracking on the left-hand side, so I mentioned it on the right. Again, blade tracking is all covered in the manual, but this is where it's done on the left-hand side of the mill. I keep on referring to our manual. We keep it here in the tube. So in the manual tube, you're going to find it's watertight, so you can leave the manual on it, and that way it's easy to reference. Inside here, we're going to have safety glasses, ear protection, a pair of gloves. We're also going to have our manual for not just the sawmill, but for the engine as well. So this manual covers everything I've spoke about in terms of tracking, setting up the mill, leveling the track, leveling feet. But when it comes to the engine, we refer to Kohler's manual. And the Kohler Command Pro comes with a 3-year commercial warranty. We've mated this with a 14 horsepower engine. So when we looked to see what it's going to take to cut 30-inch logs, we found that the 14 horsepower is a good balance of size. It's economical, and it's got the power we need to make those wider cuts. So the Kohler Command Pro 14 with a 3-year commercial warranty, it's a terrific engine. It's got a summer mode and a winter mode, and you do that by flipping the air cleaner. So you can draw from the warm air off the exhaust side, or you can draw the cool air in the summer off the open side. The tank that holds the lubricant, let's go around to the front. This is an aluminum tank. so we don't have to worry about corrosion or durability. We've got the fill up here at the top with a rubber stopper. Here we have a throttling valve. So this lets us do fine adjustments so we can tweak the drip onto the blade. So we don't want too much, we don't want too little, and we don't want to have to be tweaking it every time we make a cut. So we use this to set the flow rate, and then we use the larger valve at the back, simple on, simple off. When we're actually using the mill, it makes it efficient and easy to use. I think we've covered a lot of the details, most of the details on the mill. I think I need to get a log on here next to show you how the clamps work, how the log supports support the logs, and then we can cover how to use it, and you'll see how it works and how it cuts the wood. So what we've got loaded on here is a red oak log. At the small end here, we're about 21 inches. And it's actually quite flared or tapered, and it's around 26 to 27 inches at the starting end there, the butt end. So we'll get this clamped. We want to make sure it's tight against the guides. You can bring the clamp up. And snap it in to hold it tightly in place. Now we'll go around to the back. We're going to make sure our blade tension's set. Which it is. Our guide's all the way out and tightened. And now we're going to eye this cut up. So as we look down here at the butt end of the log, we can see right now we're going to take off too big of a slab, and we're actually going to be really tight to our guides. So I'm going to go up a little bit to make this first pass. But because of the taper, we're not going to get a lot of length out of this section, or we're not going to get many boards wasted if we take a bit of a thicker cut there. So I'm going to make this pass at this height and hope I can carry that pass all the way through to the end and get a flat start on the whole log. We've locked this here. Safety. As you can see, we haven't quite got out at the far end there. So our starting pass out here is going to be pushing the capacity of the blade guards. So this is almost a 22-inch start on this live edge slab. And the distance between our blade guides is just around 22 inches. Because I'm at the blade guide max, I need to rotate the log now before I make another pass. And now I have a flat side, so that's going to give me a datum, and we'll get this flipped over, and then we can make passes on the other side to get it squared up. Because the log's so large, we need to get the blade, the rear log supports, all to their highest position, so I have something to push them against. And to do that, as you can see, I'm going to need to move this forward slightly. Get these raised up as high as I can so I got something to push against when I turn the log. Right. All right, so now we have it flipped over on the flat side. We need to make sure this log is centered between the tracks. So sometimes you drop this lower, and that'll let me move it over to get it centered. At the other end, we have the larger, or the butt end, so I'm going to have to drop it lower at the far end to again center it up between the blade guides. All right. Because of the size and the weight of this log, I'll be able to make these next passes without clamping it because it's now seated on a flat side. So again, I'm going to eye this up. Take off the first slab, the scab of the back here. So now I've got a flat side there, and what looks like it's going to become a usable board. So I'm going to zero this out to a reference number at 14, and then as I lower this, stop right there at 13. this is one of our first full passes with any width. This board with the live edge can be trimmed off to still give us a nice board. So we'll set it aside to be edged after. Now we're starting to get some nice wide live edge planks. And over 16-inch cuts. The ends are maybe 20, 19. We should be able to get a 12-inch board out of here. Or if you wanted live edge material, you just take the bark off and leave it as is. Again, I'm starting to reach the limits. I'm starting to reach the limits here of how wide the guide blocks are and the width of the butt of the log here. So I'm going to put my supports back up. I'll rotate the log 90 degrees now, and we'll get the third side squared up. Again, we got to raise the rear log supports to their high position so we have a surface to roll against. I don't want any debris to get between the log support and the face of the log. We want to make sure we come up square on both. And then make sure it's stable while we put our clamp on. So once you got a square face, and it's a face you may want to use, we recommend you throw a block of wood in there so we don't mar the surface of the board. Again, snap and go on the quick lock. We're going to have to raise this up to the higher position now. And I'll take this time to show you on the face of the log here how close we are to maximum capacity. Just so you can envision how a 30-inch log would fit in here. We've got this blade at approximately 23.5 inches off the deck. It'll go up to 26.5, 27, so we've got a few more inches to go. This log itself is about 25 inches tall at this end, so you'll see kind of how the blade attacks and how you'd work with a larger log by just taking the top piece off. I'm going to adjust the blade lubricant as well with a fine adjustment. I just want to speed it up a little bit. I can also bring the adjustable blade guide in. Now that I have a nice square edge. Just so I run about an inch off the log face. Because of the taper, I could have taken a much more aggressive cut there. If we eye this up to get me a flat cut all the way across, so I'll zero this up now, because although these boards are short, if I cut them a little thicker, you can use them for all sorts of things. Cutting boards, live edge slabs, projects, hobbies. So I'm going to cut these at 2. Just over 2 inches thick. Because of its thickness and the ability to reuse it later, I'll put it on the good side. And now I'll go back to doing our 1-inch cuts that we can edge up later. So as you can see now, cutting maybe 15-inch wide slabs. I'll take a few more passes while it's still in this position. Try and get rid of some of the wane, and then we'll flip it over. So I'm going to get this flipped over now, 180 degrees. We'll get it back sitting on this face. We're going to take it down to a 10-inch square, or a 10-inch in one dimension, and then we'll flip it and we'll run 10-inch wide boards. To show you the capability of the mill at 10 inches wide. So let me give this. So you'll see this is where the wide bearing surface comes in, because if we had a narrow one there, we'd be gouging that outside corner as we do our turns. So now we'll drop the log supports. We want to have them at about 50% height of face, so it gives you enough support without being in the way too soon. I flip them around so I get the maximum contact while staying away from the blade. So if I had them the other way, my contact point would be down here, but this would be in the way of the blade. So now we just make sure the log's against the supports. Put our log support. Get our clamp back in. We can eye up our next cut. Zero that up, because now we got a nice flat side. A bit of a face there to edge to. get a bit of wane on these. So looks like our next pass will clean that up. That's a full 15-inch wide plank, milled at 4/4. So right now we're at about 10 3/4. I want to get down to a 10-inch board, so that when I flip it, we're going to do some timed cuts. And we use a 10-inch width for comparison cuts. So I'm going to cut a veneer now at this full width, and take off some smaller cuts to get us down to 10 and try and show you the accuracy of the mill while we're doing it. That's just under, I would say, 1/8 of an inch, at 15 inches in width. It's kind of like a veneer cut. Just show you how accurately the mill's cutting. Let's see what else I need to take off of it. Do about a 1/2 inch. So again, this was just to get us down to the 10-inch height we wanted in our final cant there. So now that we're down to a 10-inch here, I'm going to flip it 90 and we'll do some timed cuts and start stacking up the lumber. Get this tight against the supports. Get our clamp in place. Because we're down to a 10-inch wide, I can move over our adjustable blade guide, bring us in nice and tight, and then I can bring this up to make our first pass. I'm going to take it all the way to the top, and then I'll zero out the scale. And then we'll just start making our 4-4 boards right off of that. Now we're starting to get down close to the heart, and we can start to see the change in the wood to quarter sawn as we start cutting perpendicular to the grain. Again, you can see the patterns coming out and the quarter sawing effect in this oak. As we cut now down through the heart. I want to lower the log supports now, because I'm about 50% through the log, so I know I'm going to be getting close. And again, to reach my minimum, I'm going to drop in the shorts right down to the bottom now. Because the log's wider than it is tall, I'll be able to clamp it tight at the bottom and hold it securely. Now when I'm doing the last clamp, I can set this board so I don't do any damage still. And if my blade gets too close to the board, it'll just take the board off. Take one off the top and leave the bottom board the right height. So pull out the adjustable blade guide. get around my clamp. What we'll do now is we'll get all this lumber stacked up. I want to count the board footage so you guys can be told what we cut. I want to get the taller boards, the unedged boards, back up on the mill and get them edged. And then we'll get a total board foot count. And we'll let you know what we've got out of this log today. So when we're edging, we're basically going to be standing these up on their end. So we need the log supports back up. We need the tall log supports in. So I got something to lean them against. So what we're trying to cut off, well, in this instance, is any live edge, because that's not what we're going for. So this board here, because it's got flat sides all the way down, I don't need to edge that, because I could run it through a table saw later with a flat edge. This one I'm going to take the back side off and get it squared up. So you basically just want to stack them in. Not going to be a whole lot in this one, but we'll edge that in the middle here. And you can put off edging till you have a few logs worth, or you can do it with every log. It's up to you. We'll take this down a little. Get these down, get it all cleaned up. I like to put them all in, even though some are taller than others, and just do them in a batch. Square them up on the log supports. Clamp them, and then we'll pick a cut height somewhere in here that'll take off the majority of the edges on the back there. We're basically going from the lowest cut back up to our starting height here. What I'm looking for now is anyone with a finished top edge. So
So this side now has enough flat that it could be reworked in a table saw or some other woodworking machines. Same goes for that one. The other ones I'll clean up a little bit more before we flip them over. So now I got a flat side on all these boards. That one to be flipped. This one's finished. And go in the pile. This one's finished. Go in the pile. Lower these supports down, make sure they aren't in my way. So now we got these last three boards edged. We'll get them in the pile. Now a log of that size, factoring in the large taper at the one end, should yield us around 100 board feet. We'll calculate the actual and display it on the screen. The purpose of this video was to show you the HM130 sawmill, how it comes, some of the details about its assembly and setup. We wanted to get a log of good size on there and a hardwood and show you how it cuts. We want to do some time cuts so you have a comparison point against some of our other machines. And we also wanted to go through and just show you how to take a log, you know, as a first timer and turn it into boards. So there's lots of techniques when you have things like a tapered log to toe up the tail and square out the heart. There's lots of fine tuning and tricks you're going to learn as you become a sawyer and get more educated on sawing. But we just wanted to tackle this and just show you how to take that first log, turn it into boards, and get ready. Now we got to stack them and get them stickered so they'll dry properly. This has been Josh with Woodland Mills. I hope you've enjoyed the video.